All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Am I audible? If I'm audible, you can react in the chat room or you could just send an emoji. Am I audible? Can everyone hear me? Okay, great. Thank you all for joining today's session, and we are really excited to have everyone on board today. This is going to be the last session the Educational Guidance Development Initiative will be having for 2024. And we thank you all for joining in today's session. All right, so we're just going to move on very quickly. I'm going to introduce myself and then we can kick off. We're currently 11 people, hopefully more people joining soon, and then we can move as quickly as possible. So good afternoon, good evening, good morning, everyone, depending on where you're joining in from. My name is Feolami Awe-Joseph. I am the founder of the Educational Guidance Development Initiative, also known as College Guide Africa. And we are an organization for youth by youth to basically help in education, youth development, leadership development, and collaboration. And we're excited to bring you to the last event for the year, which is under the theme Reflect, Refocus, Rise, Goal Setting for 2025. All right, so before we move on, I just want everyone to know that this is going to be a very interactive event, meaning that we expect you all to react when we ask questions in the chat room. And then we have also set out the etiquette, which I'll just read out for everyone again. So once you join the meeting, make sure that you're muted in order not to disturb the flow of the meeting. You can use reactions or emojis to show engagement and acknowledge what is being shared. If you like to speak, feel free to raise up your hand or drop a message in the chat room. And remember, reactions are really important. There would also be a question and answer session at the end of today's session. So now I'm going to turn it over to you. I have a few questions for everyone. So I would like everyone to introduce themselves in the chat. You can say your name, your country, what you do, why did you sign up to take part in this training, and what do you hope to gain from this training? So very quickly, I would let people answer, then I would read out a few responses. So introduce yourself, your name, what do you do, your country, and why did you decide to sign up for this training? What do you hope to gain from today's training?
Yeah, can I start off?
Yes, you can. Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay, my name is Agoro Olayiwola, and I'm from Nigeria anyway, and I work here in Abuja, Nigeria. what do I do? I'm a civil servant. And why do I sign in to take part in this training? And what do I hope to get out of this? Well, I like to know what you do, and I want to be guided, not for me anyway, but from my younger ones on how best to further their educational career development. Well, I'm sure I'm not too old to call it further, though I'm currently doing a PhD course now, but it's strictly for me and for my younger ones. I think that's the more much I can say about myself, except if you want any other thing. Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you very much, Mr. Olaiwola. Okay, I see someone has responded in the chat. So Chot Yakcho from South Sudan. He's a national fresh graduate in public health, currently in Uganda. All right, thank you very much. I will take two more responses. So if you want to speak, you could either unmute or write in the chat room. I'll take two more responses and then we can continue. Anybody else? Okay, Mio Sora, please go ahead. Mio Sora, I see your hand is up, so please go ahead. You can unmute yourself or write in the chat box.
Okay, my name is Mio Sora. I am from Ethiopia. So I am participating in the training which given by Africa College for the second time. So I want to inspire myself by taking training, and also I graduated from Alpaminchi University since 2023. I am veterinarian, but in the village, I'm teaching illiterate people and people out of school how to read.
Okay, thank you very much, Mio Sora, for that introduction. So we'll take the last one from the Hope Foundation. I believe I see their hand is up, and then we can proceed.
Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever we are. My name is Thomas Okiria from Hope Foundation. Hope Foundation is based in Uganda. It's it's an organization that is implementing education. Specifically, we are in tech, climate action, and then we do peace and security and sexual productive health. My interest specifically for this training is I deal with young people. And under the education programming, I need to learn much on how to guide the young people to take up their, like to strategize for their future courses to take, how to select good courses for their future. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much for sharing. And then the last person I see in the comment section, TAJ from Nigeria, an educationist, hoping to develop them skills. Okay, there's one more. This is the last one I'm going to read out. So Dipo Setafo from Botswana is a healthcare entrepreneur and is eager to hear about others' journeys and the experiences that have shaped their success. Okay, this is a long one. All right, thank you everyone for sharing. Okay, the last one I see is from Maria from Namibia, a civil servant in disaster risk management and a master's student and SADC youth parliamentarian. And you're here with the hopes of learning, gaining insights on planning for 2025. All right, thank you all for joining and thank you all for sharing. So this is going to be a very interactive session, meaning that there'll be a lot of either talking or writing in the chat room. So the next thing I want you to do, so for you to be here, I think that generally makes you a leader in the first place. Am I still audible? Just want to confirm. Can people hear me? Am I audible?
Sure, you
Yes,
are.
You're audible.
Okay, great. All right, thank you very much. So, as I mentioned, for you to be here, I definitely think that you're already a leader and you're already looking forward to what the new year is going to be bringing on board. But before we move on, I want everyone to write in one word or a phrase, how has 2024 been for you? If you were to describe 2024 in a word or in a phrase, just type in the chat room, how has this year been for you? Challenging, developmental. Okay. Any other person? How has 2024 been for you in one word or phrase? Describe the year in a word or phrase. Mixed feelings. Educated, challenges. Okay. I'll take two more. Productive. Okay. 2024. I know 2024 has been a different mix of feelings for different people. So I've seen challenges, educative, productive, developmental, mixed feelings. Okay, so we're going to move on now. So the next thing I want you to do is going to be a form of reaction. So did you set goals for 2024? This one I would like if everyone could answer. If you did set goals, react with the fire emoji. And if you did not set goals, you can react with the blue heart emoji. So did you set goals before you started 2024? That's the next thing I would like you to answer. So react with the fire emojis if you set goals, react with the blue heart emojis if you didn't set goals. I'd like to see maybe up to 10 people reacting to this. So if you did set goals for this year, react with the fire emoji. I see D Settle has already reacted. If you did not set goals, then you could react in the chat room with the blue heart emoji. So let's see. I want to know the proportion of people who were able to set goals and those who were not able to set goals this year. Okay. Okay. I'll wait for like another 30 seconds for more people to. For another 30 seconds for other people to react. Okay. I see a lot of us were able to set goals this year. That's very good. Okay. Anyone else wants to react? Were you able to set goals for 2024? If yes, the fire emoji. If no, the blue hearts emoji. Okay. So I see some people were able to, some people were not able to. All right, so now we're going to move on. So why are sessions like these important? Why is it important to have sessions where you're discussing about goal setting, setting goals, thinking about the new year? Okay, so the first reason why sessions like these are important is a lot of people skip goal setting altogether. So I can see some people reacted and mentioned they didn't set goals at all, which is completely fine. That's why you are here. And for those who did set goals, you're here to learn how to make your goals more purposeful. So some people don't set goals at all, and this basically limits their growth as well as their achievement. So this session is going to help you to change that by making goal setting easier for you and also effective and purposeful. So the next reason why sessions like these talk about goal setting is important is reflection unlocks better goals. When we marketed this to people to join on board, something that we were very specific about was talking about why you even need to reflect on your previous goals for the year. So looking at 2024 as a whole, have you been able to reflect on the year? What were you able to achieve? What were you able to accomplish? What were your setbacks? What can you grow and develop from? So sessions like these are important to help you to reflect. Without reflecting on the past, it's really hard to get to set goals to move forward. And this session explains why reflection is the key to moving forward effectively. Then the next reason why sessions like these are important is focus goals are life-changing. Focus goals are life-changing. So no one is successful without having a target or a goal. There's no one in the world who does anything, who is able to accomplish anything without having a goal. And having scattered concepts and ideas without having a proper roadmap or plan leads to mediocrity. So this session is also going to teach you on how to craft clear, bold, and achievable goals that truly matter. I would like to ask everyone again, if you are not speaking, please mute your mic in order to make sure that the session goes smoothly. So if you're not speaking, please mute your mic. Thank you. All right, so now we're moving on very quickly. So what makes sessions like these different? Before I move on to this, have any of you ever joined a goal setting session before? Have you ever joined any meeting talking about goals or how to set goals or how to think of the new year? If you have, you can react or type yes in the chat box. Have you ever joined any session similar to this before? Yeah, I see you know already. Have you ever joined a session on goal setting, how to set goals, how to reflect on your progress for the new year? Yeah, I see no, I see yes. Not really, no. Okay, I see a lot of no's in the chat room, which is why these sessions like these are so important. And this is going to be something that will be done annually. Okay, I see more no's than yeses actually. All right, so I don't know, has anyone ever thought of, okay, so for those who said that they set goals, because at the beginning we asked if you had set goals, react. If you didn't set goals, react. So have you ever looked back at your goal list before and you thought to yourself, I didn't finish this goal, or I completely forgot I wanted to accomplish this goal? Has that ever happened to anyone here? You can mention yes or no. If you've set goals for yourself and then you looked back, have you ever thought to yourself, wow, I didn't actually finish this goal, or I forgot about this goal because something else ended up coming up at the end of the day? Has this happened to anyone? I see yeses, I see no's. Okay. So through sessions like these, we're not just setting new goals for 2025, which is a mistake a lot of people do. A lot of people just decide to immediately set goals for the new year without actually thinking about the previous year, and they don't take the time to actually be intentional about finishing the goals that we had before. So basically, through this session, we're going to take the time to finish the goals left behind, reflect on the goals, and then also to develop ourselves more. So without a vision, goals can feel like empty tasks. Okay, I see someone is unmuted. Let me just go with that. Okay. So without a vision, goals can feel like empty tasks that don't resonate with your deeper values. When you craft your goals based on a clear vision of your life, you are more likely to stay motivated and achieve them. Reflection is not just about looking back, it's also about setting yourself up for success in the future. And it's a tool that would help you to understand your own patterns, habits, your strengths, as well as your weaknesses. And through reflection, you would also be able to learn what truly matters and what needs to change in your life. I saw a comment that I really liked in the chat. Someone mentioned I actually set goals but forgot eventually. I think for a lot of people, we have 12 months in a year. Sometimes we set goals and we set New Year resolutions, as they're commonly called. But then as things move on, sometimes you just completely forget about them. And then you're like, when you're now looking back, you're like, oh, I wanted to do this. And then eventually it ends up not actually happening. So that's why sessions like this are important. So how many of you play sports here? Can I see a show of hands, or you could type in the chat room? How many of you play sports? Anyone, or is interested? If you don't play, are you interested in watching sports? Anyone here? Yes, okay. Do you play sports? Are you interested in sports? Okay, yes, yes, no. No, okay. Not quite fond of it, understandable. So basically now we're going to use an ideology to explain further about goals. So in this video, a footballer is kicking a ball into the goal post. Do you know if anyone saw that? A footballer is kicking a ball into the goal post. And in the next one, a basketballer is throwing a ball into the hoop. Does anyone want to say what they see is common in these two videos? I will play the first one again. So a footballer is kicking a goal into the goal post. And in the second one, a basketballer is throwing a basketball into the hoop. Anyone who wants to mention what do they see is similar in these two instances? You can mention it in the chat room, or you could raise up your hand. Is there any similarity to these two things? So I will show it again. So the footballer, okay, both involve scoring goals, yes. So the footballer is kicking the ball into the goalpost, and the basketballer is throwing the ball into the hoop. Okay. So both involve scoring goals. Thank you very much, Pascal. Scoring goals. Thank you very much. All right. So similar to the footballer who has scored a goal into the pitch, or a basketballer making a basket, goals are literally targets. So in the essence of football or in the essence of sports, usually there's an end goal, which would either mean scoring a point, and that is what has happened. So you as a human being or you as a young individual, if you're basically setting a target, thank you very much, Mr. Watts. So targeting, playing with the goal, yes. So in simple terms, a goal can be seen as an objective, a target, or a direction, which deciphers your aim or final result. Very similar to the analogy that was just shown about the person who is throwing the basketball into the hoop, or the person who is playing football and scoring into the goalpost. All right, so now we're moving on. So what exactly is goal setting? So it's one thing to have goals, and it's another thing to actually set goals. So I'm going to be taking the analogy from Brian Tracy. So goals are your first step and the ultimate answer to achieving great things. Goals fuel motivation and they define your roadmap to realizing your dreams. So this was gotten by the author and leader Brian Tracy. Also, the goal setting theory was devised by researcher Edwin Locke, and the theory basically states that having a conscious, purposeful goal increases the likelihood that things you desire would happen for you. The theory demonstrates that the importance of knowing what you want and creating plans to make progress and help will get you there. All right, so apart from this, before we move on, in your own words or in your own simple form, what do you think goals are to you? What is goal setting to you? From this explanation, you could type in the chat room. From this explanation, how do you see or how do you perceive goal setting? Feel free to mention in the chat room. How do you perceive goal setting? Knowing what you want and planning to achieve it. Thank you very much. Anyone else? How do you perceive goal setting exactly? How do you perceive goal setting? Anyone else want to answer? Execution of your vision and development. Thank you very much, Tom. That's a really good answer. So now I'm asking people to get their own understanding from what exactly they perceive as goal setting. Okay. Strategizing operations. Okay. Measurable and achievable. We're going to move into that very soon. So what else do you perceive as goal setting? Any more answers? Okay. So if we don't have any more answers, I'm just going to move on now to the next thing. So a lot of people don't set goals for a couple of reasons, targets, okay. So the first reason why some people don't set goals is the fear of failure. So a lot of people avoid setting goals because they're afraid of not achieving them, which could feel like failure. So for example, let's say your goal was if I don't know if there are any students here or if there are any people in the workforce. Okay, so let's say your goal as a student was to move from a B to an A, and that was your target. Because of the fear of failure, you don't set it as a goal just so that if it doesn't happen, you don't feel bad about it. Has that ever happened to anyone before? Or for example, if your goal in the workforce was to get promoted as an example, you don't set it as a target just so that you don't feel bad if it doesn't happen. Has that ever happened to anyone before? Okay, I see you have a question. So if you have a question, put it in the chat room. When we have our Q&A session at the end, we will move on, Tom. So don't forget your question. You can type in the chat, and then after the session, we will discuss the questions. So that happened to anyone before. You are afraid of what could possibly happen. You're afraid of what could possibly happen, which is why you don't actually write it down and set it as a goal because you're not sure. So just so that you get the consolidation, So even though it's in your head, you don't actually set it as a goal, just in case it doesn't happen, so you don't feel bad about it. Okay, I see a couple of yeses. Yes, the presentation will be shared later. Yes. Okay, so the next reason why some people don't set goals is a lack of clarity. So some people struggle with goals because they're unclear of what they really want in life. So I'm sure almost everyone is on social media. We see on social media people are achieving so many things. So when you see people on social media some of the time, there are so many people are doing everything, and then you're like, okay, I would love to be as successful as this person, but I don't know where to start from. So because there's a lack of clarity on how exactly you want to be successful, you just end up in this rut of, okay, I want to be successful. I don't know how to go about it. Or I would love to aspire to be like this kind of person, but I don't know how to go about it. And then because of that, you end up setting no goals for yourself and you just end up in the same place. So has that also happened to anyone before? Lack of clarity. You don't really know where to start from in terms of goal setting. Has that ever happened to anyone else? Lack of clarity. Okay, yes. Okay. And then another reason why some people don't set goals is the comfort zone. And the comfort zone is one of the scariest places to be as an individual. So basically, you think, I am very comfortable with where I am now. There's nothing I think I need to improve on or to develop myself. And then you just feel comfortable with your current situation. So you don't see the need to actually change or improve anything in your life. Has that happened to anyone also? Just being very comfortable with where you are, you just don't think that there's anything you need to change or move to change your life any more different. Not because you don't want to work a bit harder, you're just comfortable with where you are. You don't think there needs to be any changes. Has this also happened to anyone here? Yeah, see a yes. Yes, okay. Yeah. All right, so these are completely normal, and these are things that so many people face on a daily basis. And as I mentioned at the beginning of this training, for you to be here, that means you want something to change. Yes, change is hard to embrace. Thank you very much, Tom. Change can be very difficult to embrace and perceive. So now this is an illustration I saw about a tortoise, and it basically shows you can hide in your shell, or you could stick your neck out and progress. So this links to the fear of just being in your comfort zone. So a lot of people just stay in their comfort zone because it's comfortable for them. But if you don't actually stick your head out, you are never going to be sure of the possibilities that could happen once you actually leave the environments that you're very comfortable with. Okay, so the next thing is in nature, change is a constant. Without it, there is death. If you're not growing, you are dying. Has anyone heard that phrase before? If you're not growing, you are dying. So a very popular phrase. Has anyone ever heard it before? If you're not growing, you are dying. Yes, okay. So if you're not growing, you are dying. Embrace the unknown. It is only there you will find your treasure. This was by Will Craig. So this is also talking more about why it is important to leave your comfort zone and to grow and develop as a person. Okay, so now we're moving on. So reflection and recalibration. This is a really important aspect of today's training. So at the beginning of this session, I asked people to react if they had set goals and react if they had not set goals for the session. There were more people who mentioned they had set goals than people who had mentioned they did not set goals. So for those of you who set goals, I want to ask you, even this year, have you reflected on the goals that you set for 2024? I would like if you could respond in the chat room. Did you reflect on have you reflected on your goals? We have less than a day or 24 hours until 2024 is over. Have you reflected on the goals that you set for this year? So when I say, okay, I see a no, I see a yes. So when I say reflect, have you looked at, was I able to accomplish these goals? What was difficult about setting the goals? Is there anything I need to change for the new year? Okay, I see yeses, I see no's. Anyone else? Have you reflected? Okay, no. Okay. So for those who set goals sometimes, many people are very quick to move into their new year resolutions without actually taking the time to reflect on how the year was. In order to progress intentionally, you must purposefully take the time out to reflect on your actions, on how the year has been. Refocus to see what you can do differently and rise to be successful in the new year. So that's based on our theme, reflect, refocus, and rise. Reflection is such an important part of being able to grow and develop as a person. If you don't reflect on yourself, you will never be able to know what has changed with you, what you need to do better, and how you can improve on yourself. So for those of you who have not reflected on your goals, your task after this meeting, and even before we move into the new year, is to actually take the time out to think about the goals you have set and how you can reflect on them to be improved in the new year. Okay. So the power of reflection. So the first question you can ask yourself when reflecting is, where exactly are you? So that's something that is important to ask yourself. So reflection helps you to understand what has worked, what did not work, and why it did not work. It gives you insights into your strengths as well as your areas of improvement. Another question you can ask yourself is, what can I do differently? So many times we end up not reaching our goals. So another question I want to ask you, how many of you were able to 100% complete your goals this year? For those of you who did set goals for 2024, were you able to accomplish every single goal you set? I would like you to be as honest as possible. Not really, okay. Not at all. How many of you were able to 70%, okay. No, not at all. Not even up to 40%. At least 80% of them, okay. All right. So something that also some people do after setting goals is, even if they don't accomplish the goal, sometimes they just move on to the new thing. So for example, let's say my goal was to lose weight. Let's say that was my goal. Let's say my goal was to lose 5 kg this year, and I ended up losing or gaining 5 kg extra, as an example. Instead of me to recondition my mind at the end of the year that, okay, I would like to move this goal to the next year, I completely avoid the goal and just move on to something completely different. Has that ever happened to anyone? Because you didn't accomplish a goal, you don't feel motivated to move on, and you just decide to look at something else in a completely different angle because you were not able to accomplish your goals for the year. Has that ever happened to anyone here before? So I didn't accomplish this goal. Because I didn't accomplish this goal, I'm just going to abandon the goal and move on to something new. Yes, it's very common. It's very, very common. So many times, a lot of people will just move on to the next goal. I have achieved my inner goal from 2022 to 2024. Okay, very good thoughts, the actual. Yes, so a lot of people end up avoiding the goals just because they didn't accomplish them. So you're like, okay, I didn't accomplish this goal. What's the next thing I can do? So you don't actually take the time to let that goal manifest. So for example, let's say your goal was to start a business and your business failed. Because your business failed, okay, let's say your business was going to be in catering as an example. Because your catering business failed, you're like, okay, I'm not going to focus on catering anymore. I'll move on to something completely different. Instead of waiting for the time to watch that goal progress and actually develop into something different. Has that also happened to anyone? So you set a goal, because that goal was not successful, you just jump to the next thing that you think is going to be important. Okay. Yes. Okay. Thank you very much, Flora. So many times we don't reach our goals because we don't learn from our past experiences. So reflection is going to give you the clarity to adjust our approach. So even as we go through this session, there are a few things I would like everyone to think about. So think about, you can also mention in the chat room if you want to be transparent. So you could talk about, what were my top accomplishments for 2024? What were the challenges I faced in 2024 and how did I overcome or fail to overcome them? And what lessons from 2024 will guide my goal setting for 2025? So you can begin to think about these questions as we move on, or even as we move on, you can also write them in the chat room. I will put the questions in the chat room so that you can be thinking about them, or you could write it. So what were my top accomplishments for 2024? What were the challenges I faced this year, or what did I fail to overcome? And what lessons from 2024 will guide my goal setting for 2025? So that's something that we can begin to think about, or you could be open enough to mention it in the chat room as we move on. Okay, so now we're moving on to one of the most important aspects. So hopefully through this session, I would like to see some people's responses to what I've posted in the chat room. So what were my top accomplishments, what were the challenges I faced, and what lessons will guide my goal setting for 2025. So now we're moving on to another important aspect, setting bold, achievable goals for 2025. So being smart in your goal setting. So in a world full of distractions, I mentioned this earlier, social media has completely changed our minds. So sometimes you may be on a certain pathway, and because you see someone on social media doing something different, you pause on your own pathway and move to the pathway of the person you see on social media because you think that pathway is going to be different, and they end up getting distracted and not getting anything done. So in a world full of distractions, especially with social media, many people fall into the trap of setting dozens of goals only to lose focus and abandon them for the media. The truth sometimes is that less is more. So being able to focus on a few powerful goals ensures you don't go burnout. So this allows you to put in the effort and attention each goal needs to succeed. So focusing on fewer goals helps you to achieve excellence, whether you're a student, a young professional, an entrepreneur, or venturing into something new. So I'd like to know, how many goals did you set for 2024? I know when we had sent out the form, we asked people to mention their top goal for 2025, but how many goals were you able to set this year, 2024? Who would like to answer? So did you set one goal? Did you set two goals? Did you set 20 goals? Did you set 10 goals? How many goals were you able to set this year for 2024? Like 10, okay? How many goals did you set? Or if you didn't set any goal at all, you can also mention that. Okay, I see someone had responded to 3 goals, 4 goals, okay. 5 goals, okay. 3 goals. Yeah, I see the average number is about 3 to 6. That's the average number of goals that have been set for most people. So as I mentioned, there's actually no limit to the number of goals that you set in a year. However, it's important that you are very focused on the goals you set. So if you are setting 15 or 20 goals as an example, and you're not focused on them, you have to begin to ask yourself, okay, I have set 20 goals. What is my plan to be able to actually accomplish these 20 goals I have set? Or I have set 5 goals. What are the steps I am going to take to make sure that these 5 goals I have set or these 3 goals I have set are actually going to play out by the end of the year? So being able to focus on your goals and focus on the number of goals that you have set is very important. So now we're moving on. So what is burnout? So burnout is something that a lot of people go through, and this is another reason why some people are never able to accomplish their goals. So burnout is a state of emotional, physical, and mental exhaustion caused by excessive and prolonged stress. It can lead to missed deadlines, lower quality of work, and a general feeling of sluggishness that can generally affect our goals. Okay, so let's look at this scenario. Imagine someone on January 1st, they're very pumped. Okay, I've set my goals for 2025 and I'm really excited about how this year is going to run out. How am I going to start? Okay, let's say your goal was to go to the gym. I saw a very funny meme that a lot of people, gyms make the most money in January because that's where most people are very pumped about their goals. A lot of people love to go to the gym in January. Let's say your goal was to go to the gym. And then let's say 2 weeks into the gym, you're like, okay, I'm still not seeing any progress. And I'm tired of everything. And then at the same time as you're going to the gym, your other goal is to start a business. So you start watching a podcast or you start watching or doing courses that will teach you about setting up a business. And at the same time, you're like, okay, at the same time, I want to travel abroad through an NGO. I want to travel abroad through a non-profit. So you're starting to work on that at the same time. And at the end of the day, you're working on so many things and then you end up getting to a plateau. You're like, I don't know where to move to next. Has this ever happened to anyone? You're working on so many things at the same time and then mentally you just get really tired. You don't know where to move to next because you're overwhelmed with the amount of things and the amount of tasks that you have to do. Has this ever happened to anyone? Because you're working on so many things, you just get tired mentally and then you just get stressed out and you end up just ultimately stopping everything you're working on. Very common. Yes, it has happened to me. It's very common with a lot of people. And this is basically what is known as burnout. So you're working on so many things and it ends up getting to you and you just get mentally stressed and tired out. So burnout can lead to missed deadlines, lower quality of work, and a general feeling of sluggishness that could generally affect our goals. A lot of people that set too many goals usually end up getting burnout because there is no clear focus on what to do and how to get to where they want to be. So, which is why, as we mentioned before, having a clear set of goals that you know you would be able to accomplish in the year is more important than having multiple goals. So you don't need to have 20 goals to be successful. You could have a clear set of goals that would help you to reach your full potential in order to avoid burnout. All right, so now this is a very common acronym that a lot of people know. For this, I would like people can unmute themselves or they could type in the chat room. Have you ever heard of SMART goals before? And if you have, what does S stand for? What does M stand for? What does A stand for? What does R stand for? What does T stand for? I'll wait for about 60 seconds for people to answer. If you've ever heard of SMART goals before, what do you
Specific,
think?
measurable, achievable, realistic, and time bounded.
Okay, thank you very much. Anyone else wants to go next? Let's hear. Have you ever heard of SMART goals? What do you think they stand for? Thank you very much, Mr. Wu. Have you ever heard of SMART goals before? What do you think they stand for?
It's just the same stuff. S is specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and time bound. It's just the
Okay.
common stuff.
All right. Thank you very much. So as we said already, okay, I think someone mentioned SMART, measurable, to specific, specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, time bound. Okay. Thank you very much for sharing. All right, so now S stands for specific, M stands for measurable, A stands for achievable, R stands for relevant, and T stands for time-bound, as we have all rightfully said. So for the people who wrote S stands for SMART, SMART is the general acronym. So SMART actually stands for specific. SMART is the actual word itself, the actual acronym. So S in SMART stands for specific, just to clear that up with everyone. Okay, so now SMART goals. So the SMART goal framework. So be specific. This is basically being clear and precise about what you want. Being measurable. This is defining how you aim to measure your success. Being achievable. This is setting goals that are realistic given your resources. Being relevant is aligning your goals to your larger vision. And being time-bound is setting deadlines for each goal. So we're going to move into something very interesting. This is another analogy of SMART goals, so specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, time-bound. This presentation will be shared with everyone in the meeting, so you can also go through it at your own time. So now, this is something that is really interesting. This is what I like to refer to as goal setting types. I like to see goal setting in two different ways, and this is how it has also personally helped me as a person. So there's the goal setting list, and there's the SMART goal details. This is what I like to perceive goal setting to be like. So the goal setting list is what most people know. So for example, you could have 5 goals. I would read out some, I know during the form, we ask people to read out their goals. I'll just read out a few of people's goals just to give you an idea of what a goal setting list could look like possibly. So just give me a second. All right, so your goal setting list could look like: number 1, advance my career or continue my education. Number 2, start a business. Number 3, be wealthy. So I noticed a lot of people, when they filled out the form, they were very brief in terms of how they wanted their goals to be, which is also something we're going to address. So reduce poverty, that was someone's goal. Get into a good college, that was someone's goal. Start up a business, that was someone's goal. So I'm just reading out some people's goals. Achieve my goals was someone's goal. Get a scholarship and study abroad was someone's goal. So now, something that a lot of people don't know, which is what this session is going to be really important about, is having the SMART goal details. And this is going to transform you in the new year when you're setting your goals for 2025. So now we're going to move on. So for example, as I mentioned before, your goal setting list could be start up a business, pursue higher education. These were some people's goals that were just compiled. Gain financial literacy, lose weight, register my business or my nonprofit, finish school or graduate, make an impact on my society. So as you notice, these goals are very brief and very straight to the point. And this is how most people set their goals for the year, just in a very brief format, and there's not really much explanation to them. So this is fine, but we're now going to talk about the second form of goal setting, which is going to transform how you set goals. Okay, I see someone's goal, get married. Yes, that's a good goal. So now the next part of goal setting is the SMART goal details. So I always advise people to have a sort of journal or a notebook. So something as simple as a book like this, just to help you to write down your goals and write down things. So I've gone a step further to help people to define the goals through being smart in the goal. So the first goal we had was start up a business. You're going to ask yourself, how am I going to start up a business using the SMART goal framework? So now you're being specific. Start a catering business on my campus or start a catering business in my office by June 2025. So through this, you've been able to give yourself a specific time, the type of thing you would like to do, and how you intend to do it. So now, through the SMART goal framework, you're going to go further. How do I start up a business? So these are targets you're going to give yourself. Read up on how to start a catering business. Practice my cooking skills. Collaborate with my friend who likes cooking. This gives you an idea and gives you a head start on how you're going to progress your goals to be more successful in the new year. If your goal is to pursue higher education, you could be thinking about, okay, how am I going to pursue higher education? How am I going to coin this goal that I have set out in the list? So enroll in a bachelor's program by September 2025 in XYZ country. So how am I going to get there? Complete my secondary school education. Read up the requirements for my dream university or college. Do more extracurriculars to look good on my university application. So basically, through the SMART goal framework and the SMART goal details, you're going to take actionable steps. So you're giving yourself a head start to know the steps that are going to help you to progress to your final destination. So if your goal was to gain financial literacy, how am I going to gain financial literacy? Complete a financial literacy course and save XYZ amount by December 2025 through consistent budgeting. So how am I going to get there? Take a course on Udemy or Coursera. Follow creators that teach on financial literacy. Open a savings account. All right, I'm moving on. So if my goal is to lose weight, so lose 10 kg by June 2025, how am I going to get there? Walk 10,000 steps every day. Exercise 3 to 5 days a week. Eat healthy food. The next goal I saw was register my business on nonprofit. So if you want to register a business, how are you going to go about it? You need to set a deadline. So officially register my nonprofit organization on my business by August 2025. So how would I get there? Reach out to a family member or a friend who has registered their own business before to know how to go about it. Budget how much will be spent on my business or nonprofit registration. Read up on the registration process in my country, then get a lawyer to help with my registration. So I saw someone's comments. So get married. So if your goal is to get married, how am I going to go about getting married? So let's say your goal is to get married before the end of 2025. So you're giving yourself a target, get married before December 2025. Or you can even set your goal to move into the next year. So get married by 2026. How would I get married by 2026? Meet more people, socialize more outside of my environment. So this is being specific in your goals and thinking about the steps that you're going to take to get to your goal. So if my goal is to finish from school or to graduate, how am I going to get there? Graduate from my secondary school or university by the end of the semester. So that's a specific timeline. How would I get to that goal? Attend all my classes regularly, complete my readings and discussions, and complete my coursework. So another goal, make an impact on my society. How am I going to make an impact on my society? Take part in community development initiatives in 2025. So this can be done with me volunteering at a non-profit organization, starting a campaign or join a campaign that is ongoing, or donate my time or my resources at an orphanage or a public school. So the difference with the first list that was shown which is the common way that most people set goals, which is just listing them out. And then the SMART goal details is being specific and talking about the steps that are going to help you to get to your goals. So in the next 1 minute, anyone could share a goal that they have in the chat room, and then they can talk through this framework. They can talk about the specific steps that they would like to get to be able to reach that goal. So I'll give everyone like a minute to talk about it, and then we'll proceed. So if your goal is to finish school, if your goal is to increase your income, so in the next 1 minute, write a goal and then start thinking about the different steps that you think would help you to get to that goal. And then I'll read out a few answers. So I'll give us the next 1 to 2 minutes to do so. Okay, start up an NGO. So if you want to start up an NGO, what are the steps that you're going to take to be able to start up that NGO? These are the things you need to start thinking about. Who else wants to mention? I will time us in the next 60 to 120 seconds. Establish a branch of my organization in Canada. Make our NGO grow. Set up a clinic. Okay. So it's important to think, how do I want to reach this goal? What are the steps that will help me to get that goal? Present papers abroad. How do I want to get there? What are the steps I need to start thinking about? So this is the difference that we want to have as we're goal setting for 2025. You're going to take a step further, then instead of just listing your goals, you're going to take a step further to actually think about how you'd like to go there. And the psychology of this is that once you have everything laid out, you just have a manual that you need to follow, which would help you as you're navigating the year once you've been able to list out how you intend on reaching that goal. Okay, set up a clinic, present papers abroad. Okay, let's say another 30 more seconds for anyone else who would like to answer. So you could list the steps later on. It's just something to start thinking about. We're also going to be sharing with you a worksheet that would also help you to be able to do this. So you can list the steps later on. Okay, gaining a scholarship to help sponsor my education. I will join groups and communities that share scholarship opportunities. Read more on writing essay strength applications. This is exactly what we're talking about. So being specific and writing the actionable steps that would help you is actually pushing you a head start, giving you a head start on how you intend on setting your goal. Okay, read more about NGOs, find more about registration in my country, getting in touch with people. I missed that. Getting in touch with people who do the same work. Okay, so read 40 books on 10 intellectual books, 10 financial literacy books, 10 self-help books. I will buy a book set reading time and space, team partnership, and other networks that can push our TBO/organization. So for Tom, I would like to retweak that goal a bit. So reading 40 books may not seem like a lot, it may seem like a lot to some people. Another way that could mentally help you prepare for reading 40 books is, for example, reading at least 5 minutes of a book every day or reading a book for 10 minutes. That would definitely help you to get closer to your goal, because 40 books, imagine a book is 500 pages long and you have to read 40 of that at the end of the year. If you're not an avid reader already, it could be a very lofty goal to get to. So being able to break your goal down into small actionable steps, we're going to talk about that in a bit, but being able to break your goal down into small actionable steps would also help you take a step further in being able to actually make your goals come true. Okay, write papers for my journal, send the papers to journals, make sure papers are accepted, pay for publication. Okay. Identify a resource, know my competitors. Okay, so thank you everyone for sharing. So now we're going to move on, as I was just talking about, the practical strategies for achieving your goal. So the first step is to break your goals into smaller steps. So the bigger the goal, the more daunting it can feel. So it's very easy to make a goal, especially if you're already used to making a goal. And then for people who are starting goals for the first time, it may be a bit difficult. And then even looking at the goal may be very overwhelming as a whole. But breaking your goal down into smaller steps is the first way to reach the goal. So let's say you have 3 goals for the year. Instead of looking at your goal as a whole, or I have 3 goals I want to accomplish by so and so time, you can break your goals into smaller steps. And then you can also do something I like to say, break your goals into quarters. So we basically have 4 quarters or 3 quarters of the year, depending on how you want to look at it. So you could say your first quarter is January to March. Your second quarter is April to June. Your next quarter is July to September, and your last quarter is October to December. So let's say you break your year into 4 different quarters. If you have a goal to, for example, finish, let's say your estimated graduation time is December 2025, you're going to ask myself, in each quarter, what are the steps that would help me to reach that goal? So from January to March, I aim to do this to be able to get to that goal. From April to June, I will do this in order for me to be able to get to this goal. From July to September, I'm going to do this to get closer to my goal. So breaking your big goals into smaller steps. And back to the analogy I saw about reading books. Reading books may seem like a huge daunting task, but then if you tell yourself, I'm going to set out 5 minutes a day to read a book, before you know it, you would have gotten to 10 books. Before you know it, you would have gotten to 20 books, and then your final goal of 40 books. So breaking your goals into smaller steps will go a long way in being able to help you to achieve your goals. Then the next thing is creating a daily or weekly action plan. So being consistent is the key to progress. A lot of people start goals and then they start off on a good note. So 2025 is in less than 2 days. Let's say that you start off January on a very happy note, and then you just realize, I'm tired. I'm tired of working on this. I'm not seeing any progress. And because you're tired, you just stop. And the thing about stopping is that when you want to start again, it's usually very difficult to get back into that routine that you have created for yourself. So being consistent is really important. And the way life works many times is that when you don't start a goal, or when you start something, or when an idea is planted into your heart and you don't work on it, it's moved on to another person. I don't know if that has happened to anyone before. You thought of a really good idea, and then all of a sudden, let's say a year or 2 later, you just realize that that idea someone else has started that idea you thought about. Has that ever happened to anyone before? You thought of a really good idea and you were just too scared to start it, or you started and you stopped because you thought it was not going to be successful, or because someone had run down your idea, and then you just noticed that maybe 6 months down the line, a year down the line, 2 years down the line, that idea, someone is implementing the exact same thought process you had. Has that ever happened to anyone before? Yes, okay. So you thought of an idea and then you just noticed that I stopped this idea and it's literally the same idea I thought about. Someone has been able to successfully implement that idea. Yes, 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 okay. All right, thank you very much. So creating a daily and weekly action plan is a huge key to be able to help you to achieve your goal. So being consistent is really important. If you're not consistent, you're not able to go. So being able to set aside time each day. So if, for example, my goal is to write a book, how am I going to write a book? Writing a book may seem like such a huge idea. Or if my goal is to write a script, or if my goal is to start a non-profit or anything, how am I going to get to that goal? So each day, if you set time aside to accomplish that goal and being consistent, the thing about people is that everyone likes looking for quick fixes, especially because we have social media. You see people who share all their benefits, you see people share all their accomplishments, and then you're just wondering, when is it going to be my turn? But the thing a lot of people don't understand is that your turn may be sooner than you think because you just need to be consistent. Because a lot of people just see the final results, but they don't know the work people put in to be able to get to that goal. So being consistent, setting time aside every day would help you to accomplish your goal. and make sure that you're not distracted by other people. Because another thing that a lot of people face is that because they see someone else who is already successful, you don't know the time or you don't know what they have done to get to where they have gotten to. So if you end up comparing yourself to other people, you're going to end up getting backtracked, and then you're going to end up not being consistent anymore just because you think that what you are working on is not going to be successful anymore. So being consistent is very key to be able to progress, and setting time aside every day to work on your goals will ensure that it does not get buried by other distractions. Another thing that's important that a lot of people don't do is tracking your progress regularly. So it's important to track your progress. So this is going to help you get visibility into what is working, what is not working, and where adjustments need to be made. So as I mentioned, break your year into quarters. So think of your 12 months as 4 years, basically. So imagine January to March is year 1, April to June is year 2, July to September is year 3, and October to December is year 4. This is a personal thing that has helped me a lot as I've been able to progress and set my own goals. So at the end of year 1, which is the end of March, take a look at the goals you had set at the beginning of the year and begin to think to yourself, these goals I have written down and this task I have been able to write down, what have I been able to do, and what are the next steps that I will need to be able to make to be able to move on to the next year, quote unquote, which is the next quarter. So by the time you get to the end of June, look at it again. What have I done that is different from the first couple of months I had at the beginning of the year? What do I need to progress to be able to track and be able to continue to improve on my goals? And this is going to help you as you navigate the entire year. Another thing that I personally recommend to people is recording themselves. So you could either journal or you could do a video journal. So journaling through a book, which is basically writing and tracking your progress every quarter or every month, or recording yourself. So literally setting yourself up in a camera on your phone or on your laptop and talking to yourself. I had set out these goals and these goals and these goals. This is where I have gotten to, and this is where I hope to get to. These are the challenges I have faced. So for example, in Nigeria, when people I come from Nigeria, when people are setting up businesses, a problem that sometimes they face may be the name. The name may not be approved by the CAC. That's usually a problem that a lot of people face. So if your goal, for example, is set up a business and then you're having problems with the company name, you can begin to think to yourself, okay, I decided at the beginning of January, I want to set up a business, and we're already in March, and I've not been able to register my business name. What do I need to do to be able to leave this problem? Can I start thinking of alternative names that would help me to get to my goal? Is there another option is there something that needs to be removed from the name I already have to get to my goal? These are things you can begin to think about. Or if my goal was to be something as simple as be more extroverted or to interact more with people, I haven't been able to accomplish any of that. This is an example. How am I going to do this? So you can begin to think to yourself, should I start going to more events to be able to meet more people? Or if, for example, your goal was to grow your LinkedIn, how am I going to get to that goal? For example, am I posting consistently on LinkedIn to be able to grow my account or to grow my following? So these are things you need to think about. So either journaling through writing in a book or literally setting a camera up to talk to yourself is going to help you to set your goals, because you're having a conversation with yourself and it's helping you to think intrinsically and also reflect in a more personal way. And then the best part about this is that when you finally do get to that milestone, you can always look back and look at your progress. It's a great way to track your progress and see how far you've been able to come. And then when you do set the goals, the most important thing or the most fulfilling thing is when you're able to tick it off and say, yes, I was able to accomplish this goal. So tracking your progress is something that definitely goes a long way. Okay, I want to believe we're on the right track so far. If you have any questions so far, you can begin to start writing them in the chat room. Another thing that is important is the accountability and support. So holding yourself accountable is important, but also having someone that can help you to stay accountable and to track your progress. So it could be a friend, or it could be a mentor, it could be a group, can also help you to keep on track. So finding someone you trust to check in with regularly about your progress will also help you. So also having a community, which is what we've been able to create through this training. So by being part of this session, you're going to be joining a community of different people who are eager to set goals and who will also encourage you and hold you accountable. And we created a group chat. If you've already joined the group chat, you can type in the chat room I am in. So this is the QR code. So you can scan the QR code. I would also share it via the chat room. So if you've already joined the meeting, if you've already joined the group chat, you can type I am in. I will type the link so that you can also join. So this is a community that we have created for you in order to be able to help you to stay accountable with your goals and track your goals. So if you've already joined the group chat, you can type I am in. I have posted the link in the meeting so you can join the group chat. So if you've joined, you can type I'm in already. So it's going to help you to stay accountable in the new year. So it will help you. So if you can actually write your goals and then you can talk about your goals, and then if anyone can also support you in your goals, that would also go a long way. We also have a networking session in our organization, the Educational Guidance Development Initiative. So I'm sure that through the networking group also, you may be able to find people who could also help you to reach your goals. And we have many projects lined up for 2025. So if you've joined, I am in, okay. I'll just wait for another 30 seconds. This would also be sent to your inboxes at the end of this meeting. Already a member, great. So if you have joined, type I'm in and then we'll move on. So you could scan the QR code or click on the link that has been typed in the chat. Okay. All right. So hopefully more people join in afterwards. We're just going to move on now. So the next thing is tracking and monitoring your progress. This is going to be a huge way to keep your morale up and to continue to work towards your goals. So track your milestones, keep a record of the actions you have taken so far, the milestones you have hit, and if there have been any obstacles you've had, how you've been able to overcome them, or what you need to do to be able to move past this obstacle. So these are going to remind you of your progress and help stay motivated. So through this group chat, we would also have a lot of prompters that will be shared over the course of 2025, which would also help you to track your progress and also to monitor your progress. We would also be having monthly check-ins with people. So we could have bi-monthly meetings where we can meet like this again, where people just come together to talk about their goals and discuss. So you can send information. Yes, we would change the settings so that you can type in the group chat. So after the meeting, you would be able to type in the group chat. Thank you for that. The settings will be changed in order for you to be able to type in the meeting after this training has concluded. So through the group chat, you'll be able to talk and also mention things and talk about your progress. Okay, so the next thing we're moving on to is how to keep up with your goals. So a lot of people talk about motivation, but something that a lot of people don't know is that being disciplined is more important than being motivated. Motivation has to do with your mood. So if, for example, let's say my goal is to wake up earlier every day to read a book. Let's say that's my goal. Wake up earlier every day so I can read my book. If you're relying on motivation, the moment let's say your goal was to wake up at 6 a.m. every day. If you're relying on motivation, once your alarm hits the clock, based on your mood is when you're going to realize, I don't want to stand up. I don't know if that's ever happened to anyone before. Let's say you set up an alarm for yourself, right? And then because of your mood, you just realize, I'm tired. I don't want to move on to do this thing because I'm tired. So you're relying on your mood as the way you're going to follow that goal. Has that ever happened to anyone? You can type in the chat. So based on your mood is how you react to how you're going to work on something. So just because you don't feel like doing it at that point in time, you're not going to work on it. Yes, okay. So basically on your mood, that's when you decide, I'm going to work on this, I'm not going to work on this. Yes, okay. So being disciplined is more important than being motivated. So when you are disciplined, regardless of how you feel, you just mentally know that regardless of whether I want to do this thing or not, I am going to stay on track and achieve this goal. So turning your goals into habits and sticking with them consistently is what discipline is. And this is going to help you to get closer to your goals more than you think. So with discipline, there's no way that you wouldn't still end up getting tired, which is why we've come up with a few rules that would help you to keep up with your goal. So the first thing is the 1% improvement rule. So this is basically committing to improve yourself by just 1% every day over a year. So over a year, these small changes will compound into massive progress. So let's say your goal was to write a book by the end of the year. Imagine if you write for 2 minutes every day. By the end of the year, you would have written thousands of minutes at the end of the year. If you write 2 minutes every day, by the end of the year, you'll be done with your book or almost done with your book. And then as time goes on, so back to the analogy of tracking your year into mini years. So let's say you have 4 years, as it was mentioned before. I will go back to that slide. This slide on breaking your year into small years. Let's say you have 4 quarters, and then you say, okay, January to March is year 1, April to June is year 2, July to September is year 3, October to December is year 4. Let's say you start off the year with saying, I want to write a book. I would use 2 minutes every day to write a book by the end of year 1, which is quarter 1, January to March. By the time you get to year 2, quote unquote, which is quarter 2, April to June, okay, I've been able to do this much. I've gotten to 3 chapters of my book by the end of quarter 1. By quarter 2, I'm going to move this up to 5 minutes. So from April to June, I'm going to spend 5 minutes every day to continue to write my book. When you see that has been able to progress, by the time we get to quarter 3, July to September, okay, I've been able to do 5 minutes. Let me see if I can move it up a bit. I'm going to move to 10 minutes a day, and I'm going to move to 20 minutes a day. And before you know it, you'll be done with your goal. So being able to just commit to improving yourself just a little every single day would be able to help you to make progress. So being able to identify a habit or a skill or an area you want to improve, and then breaking these down into micro steps as just analyzed would help you to get better every day. Another thing that would definitely help you is the 2 minute rule. So if a task takes less than 2 minutes, do it immediately. So let's say your goal is to apply for a job, right? I don't know if that's anyone's goal. I haven't seen it anywhere, but let's say your goal is to apply for a job. So one thing that can help you to apply for a job is having a good resume. That's a good thing to start with. Or even having a LinkedIn profile is a good way to start off with applying for a job. So if you don't have a LinkedIn profile, that is one of the first things that could fall under the 2 minute rule. So if a task takes less than 2 minutes, do it immediately. The first way you can progress is literally opening a LinkedIn account. A LinkedIn account takes less than a minute to open. You just need your name, your details, your education, and your background, and you're good to go. So this helps you eliminate procrastination and clear small tasks off your plate, creating space for bigger goals. If you're in a workforce and your goal is to be more intentional at work so that you can be more productive in your workforce, if it's as little as checking your emails every single morning to make sure that you're not missing out on any emails, it takes less than 2 minutes to do, and you can move on with the rest of the tasks of the day. The thing is that a lot of people undermine how small some things are to be able to help you to get to your final destination. When I was much younger, I used to have a daily journal I used to do. And in my daily journal, I used to have very minute things that people may not see as really important goals, but they were to add up to my much bigger goal. So as little as checking my calendar every morning was one of my goals. And the beauty of this is that it also motivates you at the end of the day, because let's say that you have been able to do something as little as checking my calendar. When you're done with the day and you're looking back at your progress at the end of the day, you can tick it off and you feel self-accomplished. I don't know if anyone has ever had a to-do list, and then when you tick it off, there's just this satisfaction that you feel once you've been able to accomplish something on your to-do list. So this isn't even your main goal. This is now your to-do list that you've been able to create through the 2 minute rule factor. So you had a to-do list for your day, and then because you were able to do something small on your to-do list, you feel accomplished and you feel productive because you were able to do it. Has this ever happened to anyone? You could react or type in the chat room. You have made a to-do list and you were able to accomplish things on your to-do list, and then you just felt satisfied because you were able to tick it off or cross it out. Has anyone ever felt like this before? Just having a to-do list and then being able to tick things off from their to-do list. Okay, I don't see. Okay, yes. Okay. Yes, okay. All right. So the 2 minutes rule basically just helps you. It's very satisfying. Exactly. It's very satisfying being able to tick things off at the end of the day. So if a task takes less than 2 minutes, do it immediately. And then you can have this to now be on your agenda or your to-do list. And this will also help you to eliminate procrastination and clear small tasks off your plate, creating space for bigger goals. Because what usually ends up happening to a lot of people is you have so many goals and then you just get overwhelmed and then you just get into a plateau and you don't know where to start or stop from. And sometimes the truth is that there are just so many little things that it won't take you more than a minute to do or more than 2 minutes. And then if you decide to prioritize these first, and once you get them out of your way, being able to get to your bigger goals become easier and more effective. So, for example, replying an email, sometimes it's not going to take more than a minute to do so. Or if you want to exercise every day, if you decide you want to set out your workout clothes in the morning the next day, it has also kind of helped you to be more intentional about your goals. So setting up your workout clothes, once you see them in the morning, you're already aware that I'll be able to move on to workout for the next day as an example. So now we're moving on. So this is a quote. Self-discipline is when your conscience tells you to do something and you don't talk back. So that's what we're saying about discipline before. So you just need to continue to do it. So you know you have to do it. So you're not going to rely on, I feel tired or I just don't want to do it. So you know you have to do it because you know what your end result is going to be. And you just do it regardless of how you feel. So that's what self-discipline is about. And then remember, goals are more than tasks. These are a reflection of your priorities, your values, and aspirations. Approach them with purpose, break them into manageable steps, and celebrate your progress as you navigate. Also, another thing people don't know is that you don't need to achieve everything 100% in a year. The point of goals is to be able to look at them and improve on them. So even if you didn't finish your goals this year, you can move them into the new year before starting your new goals for 2025 and see how you can actually finish the goals you had set and finish them in the new year. So you don't need to achieve everything 100% in one year. Be able to celebrate your progress, no matter how big or small it is. The most important thing is that you're progressing and you're changing as a person. And success is a marathon, not a sprint. Focus on your growth, your consistency, and your progress. So at this point in time, we've come to the end of today's session. I'm going to throw the floor open for questions. So if you have a question, type it in the chat room or raise up your hand. So I would throw the floor open now for questions. If you have a question, you can type in the chat or you could raise up your hand. Any questions, please feel free to raise up your hand or type in the chat room. Okay, I see Tom has a question. You can unmute yourself or type anyone that you feel more comfortable with.
Okay, I hope you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, thank you very much for this wonderful session. It's indeed inspiring, for young people like us because most youth they just navigate the whole year without setting goals. I think I started my goal setting this year and I came out quite good. And the question I would like to ask is, in this age and time, we have there's a lot of information overload. People are overloaded with a lot of information, and people feel like they should do a lot. So, like when you say that you want to do this, you want to do this, you want to tackle all of this. Like in January, you started with this high spirit, and then it keeps on dwindling as you're going on. And then you see in around March or April, you have lost focus because this is coming, this is coming. What strategy should we use to be focused, to 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 project our energy, our direction? Because you say goal setting is it's a direction, because if you don't have goals, you don't have direction. It's just like you're wandering in a sea or in an ocean. So what should we do to minimize being taken by other tasks that are overriding our goals? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Tom. That's a really good question. So the first thing I would say is that everyone is on their own direction. I think a lot of people end up comparing themselves or their progress to other people, and that is something that definitely helps diverse people from their goal setting, because you're thinking to yourself, this person has accomplished this, I am still at stage one, or this person has gotten to stage H, I am still at stage B. So understanding that everyone is on their own pathway and your path and your progress is going to be different is one thing I would recommend when you're setting goals and when you're trying to get motivation. Another thing is, as I mentioned earlier, is setting your goals into smaller goals. So don't always look at things at a very massive goal. So let's say your goal is something, as I saw someone's goal on when they filled out the form, is going to COP 30 next year. So that's like a climate change convention for people who are not aware. So if your goal now is to get to COP 30 now, as an example, how are you going to get there? So you could start thinking, okay, I will start reaching out to people who have already gone to that COP 20 or COP 29 or COP 28 to see how they did it. I will start pitching myself to people on LinkedIn. I will start being more visible with my work. And then when applications come up, I would apply. So being able to break your goals down into smaller goals is one way that would help you to stay disciplined and help you to finish your goals. And discipline is something that is really important. So when you're disciplined, you're not going to think about how you feel about that goal. You just know that you know where you want to get to, and you're going to do everything that would help you to get to that goal. So breaking down your goals and also not having too many goals would also help you. Because if you have way too many goals, then you end up being unfocused. And then because you have too many goals, you get overwhelmed and you get burnt out because you don't know where to begin. So have smaller goals, understand that everyone is on their own direction and you don't need to compare yourself to other people, and then take actionable steps that would help you to get to that goal. I hope I've been able to answer your question.
Yes, yes. Thank you very much.
All right,
Yeah, I understood. Thank you.
you're welcome. Does
Yeah.
anyone have any more questions?
Well, sure, I do.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you very much. I want to believe setting goals is is actually dynamic. Or goal setting is dynamic. It's not static in any way. And maybe I should use a typical example now. Okay, I have set goals for 2024. These are the things I hope to accomplish within the year in question. However, there are some factors, some external factors that will determine um, how you are going to accomplish those goals. And those external factors were unforeseen factors. They just came in along the way when you want to start tracking or measuring your goals. So how do you deal with this? Obviously, they were not factored into it. It never occurred to you to put them in. I mean, so how do you deal with it? Because once they come in, or the moment they came in, every of your goal was nullified, so to say. Thank you.
Okay, that's a very good question, Mr. Olaiwola. So if external factors, so the thing about being a human being or just life in general is that you never know what's next to end up happening. So let's say your goal was to start up a shop and you finally raise the money to start up the shop, and then let's say, for example, the landlord for the shop suddenly says he wants his building back, so leave the shop, and then you're like, okay, where am I going to go to? Or the shop catches fire. It can literally push you off your track. So I think something that would help you in this aspect, or in this scenario, is also just knowing that everything happens for a reason. As sad as it may sound sometimes, everything does happen for a reason. So being able to understand and being able to emotionally mature and know that regardless of whatever has happened, if I was able to get to point B before, I can get back to point B no matter what has happened before. So being mentally strong to understand that regardless of whatever has happened, if there was something and then sometimes also being able to re-strategize is also another thing that would help you to reach your goal. So let's say a goal was to become more prominent in a certain business venture, and then you have a competitor that is at your neck. So being able to just re-strategize would also help you to reach that goal. So one thing I also want to make clear to everyone here is that there's no way that you're not going to have obstacles whenever you're setting a goal. As long as you have a lofty goal you want to set, any obstacle can occur. There's no goal that you're going to set that is going to be very linear and that it's going to be immediate, that once you do this, once 1 + 1 is going to be 2. No. There are always going to be things that may end up changing the way that goal is going to be. But being able to be mentally strong, being able to re-strategize, which is also why it's important to track your progress. And then back to the thing about, okay, an obstacle has made all your progress nullified. I'll give an example. This year, I went for an event called 25 Under 25 Awards in Nigeria. And there was this lady who won the award. And she won the award for, I think, the entrepreneur who deals with makeup and skincare. So when she was giving her speech about the award, she spoke about the fact that her entire building got burnt down. There was a fire and they were unable to sustain anything from that fire. But through that award that she was nominated for, she felt more motivated to be able to move forward. So sometimes, and then now she's even been able to scale up her business again and think about things from a different example. Let me use a personal example. There was a time I was writing something for an application, and then I ended up losing all the work I had done. It didn't save for some reason. I ended up losing everything, meaning I had to start from the very beginning. When I started from the very beginning, what's the word called? It was very sad because it was like I have put in so much effort. How can everything I have worked on delete? But then when I now thought about it again, I was now able to think, okay, maybe I could have done this better, I can do this better. So when you're actually thinking and strategizing, sometimes you get better ideas. So being mentally strong is also something that would definitely help you if there are obstacles in the way, and then just re-strategizing, monitoring your progress, even if sometimes you go back, sometimes, as long as you've been able to get there before, you can always get there again and get there even better. So that's also something that is really important for you to know. If you've gotten there before, you can get there again and get there even better. I hope that answers your question, Mr. Olaiwola.
Thank you very much. I'm okay.
You're welcome. Okay, are there any more questions?
Yes, thank you so much for the sharing. It has been really good and educative. My question is about reflection. Now that we have some of us, we have had goals for 2024 that we are not accomplished. So what's your recommendation? Do we have to start from those very one, or we can just move ahead? Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much. That's a very good question. So let's assume that you set out 4 goals for 2024 and you were only able to accomplish 1 out of your 4 goals. So the first thing I would recommend for you to do is to look back at your goals. I would like to believe that you had written your goals out somewhere. It could have been on your notes app on your phone. It could have been on a sheet of paper. It could have been in a journal. So look at your goals and then basically do a SWOT analysis. So your strengths, your weaknesses, your obstacles, your targets. So the first goal I was able to accomplish. How did I accomplish this goal? So as I mentioned before, having a video journal, you don't even have to show your face. You could literally just record the goals and just talk over it. So I don't know if anyone's on TikTok, but sort of like a green screen kind of thing. So talk through the goals. Okay, I was able to do this. How did I get to this goal I was even able to accomplish? What did I do to get there? Now, these 3 other goals I was not able to accomplish. Why didn't I accomplish them? Is it that I was distracted? Or is there something that happened in my life that diverted me from being able to accomplish these goals? Think about those things and write them down. Then think about reflecting again, what I want for myself in 2025. Do these goals still have a specific space on how I see myself? Because sometimes, as I mentioned, through social media, we set sometimes unrealistic goals just because of what we see other people doing. So think to yourself, is this actually something I want for myself, or is this something I want because I'm seeing other people do it? So re-strategize. If this goal is not important for the future me or the way I want to see myself, then I don't need to do this goal anymore. And I should move on to something that's actually specific for how I intend on progressing as a person.